Hello, hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and this week we're reading Five Children and It by Edith Nesbit. Let's get to reading. Five Children and It is a children's novel about five siblings, although most of the book focuses on the oldest four, who discover a sand fairy as they are playing outside. The sand fairy has not been around since the Stone Age and tells them that it will grant them wishes each day that will end at sunset. However, the children soon discover that their wishes always have unintended consequences, and these consequences typically turn out to be negative. Now, I typically really love the concept of fae and making deals, and especially the idea that actions do have consequences, whether you're able to anticipate them or not. However, this book felt very repetitive in that each chapter had the children wishing for something intentionally or not, and then dealing with the consequences of that wish only for sunset to hit and for the wish to go away and for the consequences to be resolved. This felt very formulaic, and it really made it feel like the consequences of those actions were not serious, that even though they did have to go through some hardship, it would end up getting resolved, and ultimately there were no negative consequences for making wishes without thinking them through. Additionally, this book did have some content that I found disagreeable, namely racism, specifically for two groups of people, the Romani or Gypsies and Native Americans. These depictions are stereotypical and inaccurate, and they pushed my indifference to the book to a dislike of the book. As such, I am going to give this book a 2-star rating. As I said before those depictions, it really would have been more of a 3-star. I was a little indifferent to it just because of that repetitive nature and because the theme that actions have consequences didn't really feel solid since those consequences were impermanent. Besides the racism, there is some additional content to be aware of. There is some violence in this book. For one thing, the boys get in a couple of scuffles and fights. Additionally, one of the wishes is for them to be in a besieged castle, and they end up having to fight against the army, although there's really no combat there, and they mostly end up just dumping water on them before sunset comes. And finally, they end up almost getting scalped when they're facing the Native Americans, although they're wearing wigs, and so it ends up that the wigs are just taken off and they are not actually scalped. But even so, this does still occur and the intention of scalping is present. There really isn't too many other pieces of concerning content to be aware of, and I'm going to put this at a 4th through 6th grade reading level. The older of the 4 children are in about that age range, and it would be an appropriate age to talk about the themes in the book, while hopefully not feeling too repetitive as it would for older readers. Now, as I said, actions have consequences is a major theme of the book. Along with that, you could put the theme of be careful for what you wish for. This is something that could be further explored with students. Students could try to come up with wishes that would not have those consequences, or you could suggest some wishes and they could come up with potential consequences of those wishes or misinterpretations of those wishes. You could also put students in opposing teams where they alternate making wishes and making unintended consequences for those wishes. You could also have students then figure out ways for the wishes to be resolved or those consequences to be resolved, as they were for the children almost every day at sunset. Now, for the poster square for this week, we are right here on the end of this row with this strange looking snail-eyed creature. That is supposed to represent the sand fairy, or it, in the book, because it's described as having like the body of an ape and the ears of a bat and be really furry and brown, but also have eyes of a snail. So all in all, a very strange creature. Let me know what you thought of Five Children and It in the comments below, and if you have any other book recommendations. If you are not already, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram for updates about what I'm reading. And as always, have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.